My daughter's friend kept coming back to our house. Her shocking secret changed everything. You know, the thing about being a single father, and I mean truly single, no co-parenting, just me since my wife passed a year after our girl was born, is that every milestone your kid hits, you feel it twice. Once as a father, and once as the entire parental unit. My world is neat, predictable, and frankly, too quiet. Then came Emma. My daughter, let's call her Angela, said she was having a slumber party. I ordered the pizza, set up the movie theater in the basement, braced for the inevitable shriek fest. But when Emma walked in, the neat geometry of my world fractured. It was a vicious New York January, the kind that bites through 3 layers, and this little girl was wearing a threadbare cotton dress, clutching a backpack that looked like it had survived a war. It hit me then. I had prepped for a party. Angela had prepped for a mission. I expected a house full of giggling 8-year-olds. It was only Emma. That night, after I'd poured my 5th cup of coffee, I found myself drawn to the quiet sound of movement in Sarah's room. I eased the door open just enough to observe, becoming a reluctant spy in my own home. My girl, my little 8-year-old strategist, wasn't asleep. She was meticulously curating a relief package. Her favorite ski coat, the one I just bought her, the insulated boots, a new pair of fleece pajamas. She was putting them into a spare backpack she didn't use anymore. And then, the stinger. She took the entirety of her Christmas money, over $80 left over from her grandparents, and tucked it inside the coat pocket with a note. It said,
"For lunch whenever you need it. Don't tell anyone. That's what best friends do."
I realized the slumber party wasn't for fun. It was a brilliantly executed cover story. She had kept the other girls away not out of malice, but to grant her friend the dignity of anonymity. She understood that charity, given publicly, often feels like a stone. That night, I cried a little into my hands, realizing the universe had gifted me a child whose empathy was both profound and tactical. But dignity doesn't feed you long term. I learned Emma and her mom were living out of their sedan. My small act of generosity suddenly felt microscopic. I decided, against all fiscal prudence, to take the deepest dive. I ripped out the old storage and spent the next month crafting a proper apartment in my garage. 2 small bedrooms, a private bath, a little galley kitchen. I gave them a secure, warm roof. It cost me every spare penny, but I was building a sanctuary. And for a short time it worked, until the unsettling pattern started. The mother, let's call her Mary, would resist every job lead I gave her, every genuine offer to rebuild her life. She'd be catatonically sluggish in the mornings, then flickering with manic energy in the afternoons, often disappearing for hours. It was a drumbeat of instability that raised the hair on my neck. Then came the boyfriend, a man whose very presence radiated unwanted gravitational pull. I explicitly forbade it, but they simply ignored me, treating the separate dwelling like a fortress I couldn't breach. The garage devolved into a place of loud, desperate fights and strange visitors. And Emma? She became a refugee. She was perpetually seeking asylum in the main house, sleeping on the floor beside Angela's bed, always looking over her shoulder. Every time Angela would look up at me and say,
"Dad, make her my sister. Please, make her safe."
The fuse was short, and I was the one who lit it by coming home early. I found the front door ajar. I knew instantly. That thick, cold sense of dread choked the air, tightening in my chest. I walked in, calling out, and I heard it. A stifled, muffled sound coming from the living room that was too small for a laugh and too panicked for a sob. I rushed in, and the scene that unfolded will be the permanent, burning scar across my memory. There he was, the human garbage I'd allowed onto my property, hurting Emma. The sight was immediate, vile, and violating. Her mother was out cold on the recliner, a tragic, negligent monument to her addiction. In that moment, the years of quiet grief, the frustration over the garage, and the betrayal of my trust, it all coalesced into a primal, white-hot fury. My brain didn't form a single coherent thought. It only screamed, protect. I lunged. I grabbed that boyfriend. I didn't care about his size. I used every ounce of muscle, fueled by a rage so deep it felt geologic, and threw him out, literally launching him off my porch and onto the frozen lawn. The sickening thud of his body hitting the ground was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. I called 911 before the sound of his body hitting the pavement had faded. I stood over him, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone, repeating the address. The betrayal that a child I was trying to protect, had been harmed under my roof by a monster I let stay there. It was absolute. That's how I met Lieutenant Sarah Richards. She was sharp edges and competence and a shield of steel. She handled the arrests of both the boyfriend and the mother. Emma was swept into the system, and I was left with a house that felt too vast and too silent. But the system, no matter how efficient, couldn't treat Emma's trauma. The girl was a homing pigeon for safety. She'd run away, and 3 days later, she'd be there, curled up on the porch swing, or sometimes having slipped through a basement window, sleeping peacefully next to my daughter. It became a perverse routine. I'd call Lieutenant Richards. "She's back, Lieutenant," and she'd come, professional and grim, to take her away. The pleas from my daughter became more desperate, a constant low-grade torture. Then, one evening, it erupted. As Richards was trying to gently coax her into the squad car, Emma broke. She screamed, she sobbed, and she finally gave us the key to her cage. She told us about her father, how he was a decent, simple man, how her mother, deep in the spiral of addiction, had called her friend with the mean eyes to rob the house for quick cash. Her father had come home unexpectedly to grab a file for a new job, and the thief killed him. Emma saw it all. She couldn't stay anywhere else because she knew, with the chilling certainty of a child who has witnessed true evil, that this was the only place she was safe. Richards, a stone wall of professionalism for weeks, visibly staggered. You could see the cold, hard reality of the case, the legal hell she was about to rain down on the mother, coalesce in her eyes. That night, Richards came back after hours. She didn't have her uniform on. She found me sitting between the two girls, all three of us emotionally shattered, the girls pleading one last time to be sisters. She looked at the scene. The exhausted protector, the two inseparable girls. And you could practically see the moment she realized her duty had become her destiny. She didn't take Emma. She used every connection, every legal loophole, and the overwhelming evidence of my stability as a father to secure emergency temporary custody. She didn't just save a case, she created a family. It's been over a year. Sarah and I are dating. I've just come from the jeweler. My grandmother's ring now fits perfectly. I look at them now, 3 smiling girls, my daughter, her new sister, and my future wife, all laughing over dinner in the kitchen. This life is messy, chaotic, and profoundly expensive. I gave up a quiet garage and a safe bank account, and I opened my heart to a violent, terrifying mess. But I gained everything, because I learned that some bonds aren't forged by blood or even by choice. They're forged by fire, by shared trauma, and by the courage to love what is broken. And I know, with total certainty, that found family can be more important than the one you're born into.